Go for it, Kurt.
Okay, I am going to talk a little bit about speakers. Questions, comments, please raise them as we go along, because this is by no means a exhaustive comment. But so, speaking from my experience with here with 5440 and 5450, who do we have as speakers? As I mentioned, district governors for about 5 minutes each. They love coming up there. They just can't believe how much energy is out there if they've never been there before. And by the way, I didn't mention this before. We really encourage our Rotarians to come visit. We encourage clubs to bring up a group. If they come up and spend a day at Rocky Mountain Ryla, they become disciples. They become advocates. Funding from that club won't be a problem for a while. And we may actually get some senior councils out of the deal. So we encourage that. We also encourage people from other districts to come, and we'll even house you. We'll throw you in a room with 3 or 4 other senior councilors. We have Rotarians to speak. We've got Ryla alumni. Heather's one of our speakers that you saw yesterday. We have our junior counselors do words of focus. Last year we tried to have every one of the 20, plus the head JCs, plus the photographer and a sidekick, the kind of the facilitators director. We had 24 junior counselor words of focus last year. That won't be happening this year. And we have a few others. We got a college professor, and I've got a few pictures of some of those speakers that I talked about. So what do they talk about? We want to have them address some objective of what we're trying to accomplish at Ryla. We don't want to have some obscure person just come in and tell jokes all day or something like that. Our senior counselors, one each day for about 10 minutes, do some anecdotal talking about the 4-way test. They set, one of them might actually talk about setting goals in your life. Some personal development, group dynamics for working with a team. A historical perspective. We've got one speaker that talks a little bit about a historical perspective we'll talk about, and sometimes current events. I've done a leadership conference called Hobie down in Texas. My daughter's been in charge of that for a while. And they always did a panel on some sort of current event. One was illegal immigration. Well, down in Texas, it's a big issue. And I'm not so sure I want to bring that to Ryla, but so anyway, why do we do it? Each speaker should address one of those objectives and to complement and fill in holes in your program. Where you place, you're obviously going to speak at Ryla, but where you place them in your agenda is key. We have, like we do the True Colors thing, which is presented by our junior counselors at the beginning of the session. Our keynote speaker is a guy by the name of Corey Cicchetti, who talks about winning is okay. Matter of fact, it's essential that we have winners out there, and so it's okay to do that. It's so, and about being an authentic person and that sort of thing. Any worse than some humor, the kids just love him.
This guy, he's an ethics professor at Denver University. You wouldn't think an ethics professor would be somebody you really want to listen to, but he's probably the most highly requested returning speaker every year.
Yeah.
And what he says, we hear kids throughout the entire week talk about different aspects of his talk, and it's just so motivational.
But he brings in humor, and it's an appropriate humor, but he even talks about farts. The high school kids just think that's great.
I think that's great.
Let's talk about that and down at Young Ryla too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he does good.
Oh, yeah.
But and it's about, you gotta laugh at yourself too.
Absolutely.
It needs to be appropriate for the mood of the conference. You don't want to bring in somebody that's going to be kind of funny like a Corey Cicchetti right after you did the take a look around or
Right.
poster on it. You have to be careful about that sort of thing. Anecdotally, the first year we did Young Ryla, we did the culture walk after we did our skits. What a mistake that was. Anyway. And time of day issues. That afternoon time slot can be a little rough, especially after you just climbed the mountain. So,
If I can add
ask, so obviously you said the culture walk was a challenge, you said you did it after the skits?
We did it after the skits, and the kids were all wound
So
up.
wound up in line, so then you go to something, so I've talked to me, we have nothing that's emotional in our short Riley program, that's what we want to incorporate. What's the things to stay away from before or after an emotional activity? Just not super fun, high energy activities?
Not super fun, high activity, but I strongly believe you do that after it.
Yeah.
We, one year.
We
did-
debrief first and then go.
So it should be something maybe after a meal or at the beginning of the day?
Right, after a meal would be a good time.
And then a high energy after?
We do it last thing and then debrief with their small group and
What'd you
then,
have before it though?
usually, I think a speaker, but it's not a crazy fart
So not
talking
high energy.
speaker.
Yeah, no, it was, I remember that, I still remember, that was almost traumatic for me. Anyway, time of day issues, just don't put a speaker that may not be the most exciting speaker 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
We have also incorporated immediately following, take a look around is what we call it, music. And it, kids are just tears, Kleenex boxes are all over, and they get music gradually getting more and more intense. And then they go off to their debrief experiences, but we can't send them off still crushed.
Right.
They need to, the music we have learned really lifts them up, and it's beautiful. Very
But the
careful
key
and
is,
picked.
the key is to bring it back to leadership. I don't know if you guys are doing that. In the large group, I want to hit them right then with it.
Because otherwise it's just a drama fest. I mean,
It's a drama
if
fest.
you don't relate it
No,
to
it's-
leadership.
And then you send them back
Which
to the
we've done in the past, it messed that up.
Yeah. We're always learning.
Yeah.
Our little culture walk thing is a tough nut to crack with 240 kids. And we are constantly trying to change it. We know we're not doing it as well as our friends down at the middle school route. They have 120 kids, we got twice as many. It becomes a big issue. We're getting there. So anyway, speakers need to be able to relate to their, the audience and the age. I made the mistake of inviting a businessman to come talk about working in a business environment, team environment. And the guy showed up in a coat and tie, white starched shirt. It was a wrong move. That turned kids off in a minute. You gotta let them make sure that they understand it's more of a casual thing. They need to hold the attention for the entire time slot. We have speakers that speak for 45 minutes. We got speakers that speak for an hour and 15 minutes. We have speakers that speak for an hour, but supposed to speak for an hour, that speak for an hour and 15 minutes. Time slot's important. They need to understand the expectations of what their time slot is. They need to be genuine. That business guy just didn't connect. The kids just didn't appreciate it. He used to have a clear message, usually relatively simple. Need to finish on time, which is sometimes a problem, and take questions if time permits. Kids like to ask questions.
Well, Kurt, I mean, you may have this already in here, but one thing I was saying is you have to be ready, especially with us as a drive to get there. If the speaker's late or doesn't show, you gotta have an alternative ready.
Right here and other issues.
You're there.
I gave a lot of thought to these slides from 9:30 to 11 o'clock last night. I found out I was going to do the speaker thing about, what, 3 days ago, Dave?
Thank you.
So, should you pay for a speaker? Anybody here pay for speakers? I think Eric's gone, but I think Eric does.
We've paid for a speaker to stay overnight. We actually, someone in our group is CEO of our local YMCA. So he has somebody, he flies him out from Wisconsin. His name's Dave Wetzel. He's a basketball guy. He does incredible, it's what he does. He is a motivational speaker, and he works with, the guy can spin like 10 basketballs out at one time on his body. It's incredible. But he's expensive, so the Y will have him come out to do a couple of their camps, and then he'll come and speak at Ryla, and we just put him up in a hotel for a night, but they take care of the fee. But yeah, it's kind of our thing not to pay speakers.
Well, in our case, we used to have 2 speakers, and we used to put him up for 2 nights but he's no longer speaking. We have one that we pay a stipend for, a couple $100.
Who's that?
Polly.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, we don't pay any of our speakers either. But again, driving up to Estes Park is not an easy drive from wherever they're coming from. You've got to want to go there. Okay, I always find it's convenient to confirm with the speaker about a week or two before the conference, reiterating the time frame that they're in and talking to them about your expectations, how much time they have to talk, and what are they going to need, and that sort of thing. That didn't happen a few years ago. We had a speaker that didn't show because she didn't realize she was supposed to be there. So plan to actually confirm that. Have a backup plan just in case. We had a speaker that didn't show last year, had food poisoning, and we had to juggle some things. But it's a great leadership experience for the head JCs to figure out that things just don't always go according to plan. And one of the things about being a leader is to be able to be flexible and make decisions pretty quickly.
We had a speaker last year that actually finished a lot sooner than was anticipated. So we had the same situation where, okay, they're done and we've got 35 minutes here before our next activity. We better figure out what to do. And so we've now incorporated that in. Our senior counselors have to make sure they've got something ready to go. And we also encourage our speakers to be interactive with the students and to have an activity if possible. Keeps them more engaged. That doesn't happen with every speaker, but
Anybody else?
And young riders, sometimes we'll have rain on the day that we're planning our hike, and this happens occasionally. A few years ago, one of our chair, June Green, sat down with her head JCs and said, we need to make a complete alternative plan on every single day. We don't know when the rain's coming. And we had to use it on 2 of our 5 days, and it just was wonderful to have. So that backup plan is crucial.
And, be clear on your speaker, how much time they have, and then I always go in the back and give them the old 10, 5, you're done. And for a couple of speakers, they just kind of go,
But Kurt, this is really cool.
that is
Something
cool.
we're thinking about.
Yeah.
I like
That is real.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe just put
Is that an
it
app?
right down there where they can see it, right on the podium.
It's just an app, yeah, it's just a program you can just click on and I can send it to everybody.
I mean, it's pretty clear that I got 11 minutes and 35 seconds left. And I love it. Make your expectations clear. For new speakers, we use a lot of the same ones. For new speakers, make sure they understand exactly what they're getting into. Make sure they know how long it's going to take to drive there, and all that good stuff. We have an issue where a lot of our Rutherfordians want to go up and talk to the speakers after they talk. Chicketti's a big one.
yes.
But all of our speakers, there's a certain faction of those kids, they're not the same kids all the time, that want to go talk to that. And we try to accommodate that as best as possible. Because it's going to happen. You might as well try to adjust your schedule around it so that you don't have anything that's going to be just extremely important to do on time right after they're done speaking. And speaker gifts. Every year we forget to do that, so we give them an old t-shirt or something. Anybody do anything special about speaker gifts?
We give out Rotary and Ryla pins.
Really? Okay.
Stand up, Dave.
Stand
Show
up.
our speaker, yeah. We've done a number of things. We'll do we'll do shirts, we'll do, last year we did caps and visors for the women speakers and the women's speakers. Portfolios.
I didn't get your
Okay.
mug shot in there, so
Uh,
just
Well, it's important to do that. And one thing I didn't mention is we have our conferees actually go visit with the speaker and try to do a short introduction. And then we have a different team involved with actually doing the thank yous.
And you write out thank yous to send.
We used to do that. It hasn't happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah, when we had action groups, 7490, part of the public speaking action group, they interviewed like during the meal before the speaker, they interviewed the speaker and then had to introduce them, give a little ditty about them.
Okay, well, I'm going to go through a few of the speakers that we have used or continue to use from time to time. Anybody recognize this guy? He was here yesterday, Bill Manning. He was actually at the time discussing one of the aspects of the four-way test. We get 4 different senior counselors every year to do it. Dave's done the Is It Fair to All Concerned and talked about how you select people to actually go to RILA, why did you get picked and other people didn't get picked and stuff like that. Try to bring it back to something that's that they can relate to. Here's the infamous Corey Cicchetti, professor at the University of Denver, professor of the year about 5-6 years ago, talks about ethics and does an outstanding job. He's entertaining, but the kids just walk out of there going, yeah, I want to go to the University of Denver, which I, by the way, I'm a graduate of. So I'm a little... Anybody recognize this guy? The Reverend Leon Kelly. His big claim to fame is that he is kind of the guy that's in the anti-gang violence arena here in Colorado. When he walks up, he puts a list of all the kids he's officiated on their funerals that have died because of gang violence.
On an open chair.
On an open chair, he puts it there and it sits there. It's kind of like the elephant in the room, and because nobody knows what it is until he tells them what it is. Former middle linebacker for the University of Colorado Buffaloes, had a little bit of a problem with drugs, and then became he doesn't speak anymore for us, but you want to talk about getting some of these kids that are from the ranches in Wyoming out of their comfort zone, put them next to a 6'3", 270-pound black guy, and that'll get them out of their comfort zone real quick.
I think you got to tell him he does have false teeth shown here.
Yeah.
And this is makeup, not necessarily what he really looks like.
Yeah, we know sometimes. You're right. He comes in and his whole idea is that I don't want to, I want to break down stereotypes. He comes in and he's talking, you know, language from the hood is what he would say. And those are his looks. And anyway, he gets them out of the comfort zone, and some people love him and some people not so much. Cassandra Sewell. She does a historical perspective thing. She does things in first person. She talks as though she's Harriet Tubman. Then she talks as though she's her grandmother, and tells a story of her family. And it's trying to break down barriers from a diversity standpoint. And but the message is probably deeper than that, in that you can't fight hate with hate. Very powerful for some of our kids from the inner city of Denver and stuff like that. And she's you can't tell it here, but when she wears her heels, she looks me right in the eye. She is 6 foot, master's in electrical engineering, I think, and she is something. And the kids, especially the kids from the inner city, are just mesmerized by her. You've seen her, right? You guys? Yeah.
She's never spoken at Mount Riley, but I've seen her.
But she would do it in a minute. Charlene Mosier. Charlene does a thing called, discusses random acts of kindness, but she prefaces it by what caused her to do this was a friend of hers that was dying, heart and lung issues and that sort of stuff. And she goes into this long background of the whole thing, and you want to turn on the waterworks. This is what has happened. We have extra boxes of Kleenex all over the place. But she finishes strong with this random acts of kindness thing. She throws pennies on the floor and with heads up and try to brighten people's day and things like that.
Well, Kurt, can I talk for just a second on that?
Absolutely.
With the random acts of kindness concept, she said, well, I'll pay for the person behind me in the McDonald's drive-thru. Or I'll take ice cream sandwiches out to the park for the kids. But parents are so suspicious of that, she now has cards printed out that says, you have a random act of kindness.
Yeah.
And she hands those out to everybody.
Right, so they're not scared that somebody's trying to.
You've been convicted of a random act of kindness. Yeah. So and she gives a little toolkit of stuff like that with all those cards and stuff like that. Or you have been caught providing a random act of kindness that you can give out to people when you see somebody doing good, recognize them for doing so.
You've been
Oh, there he is. Eric's got his right there. She hands one of these to each of the kids. And you have just been caught performing a random act of kindness. Thank you for making the world a better, a kinder place. Now it's your turn to pass this card on to someone you catch being kind. And there's other ones in here, so.
That's really, one of our internet clubs in our district adopted that kind of a program this year, and it's trickled all the way down the state into different areas, and, yeah. It's good.
The problem with Charlene is that she doesn't know how to tell time.
Yeah.
She's one that ignores the thing.
Yeah. Polly Matovsky. This is a woman that walked around the world and did it as 9/11 happened, and was in a Muslim country when 9/11 happened, talking, and she did it to bring awareness for breast cancer. Being a Muslim country doing that, 9/11. So it was a little, so anyway, she's written a book, and she talks about it. She's very entertaining. She does get that in an hour. And she actually gets done a little, and she actually takes some questions and stuff like that. Anyway, very entertaining lady. She's done it for a number of years now, and the kids just love her. But again, she's walked around the world.
Took her 2 years, didn't it?
About 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's from Vail.
Only 2 years, that's not bad.
And how many shoes was the answer? It was like 40?
29.
27.
I thought it was 29. 28, but then they gave her some ruby slippers for the last mile or something, so it was 29. And there's our very own Heather McCallan with a couple of Russians that attended Ryland. And see, I got 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Any questions? Comments?
Kurt, since you guys are up there and you guys are focused, I want to thank the Rocky Mountain Riley group, because I don't know, you guys may or may not get much from all the rest of us, but you guys probably didn't have to come. You have the premier program, so the fact that you shared so much with us, I really appreciate it. Because you guys, it seems like you set the bar. I have more ideas from the other programs, and I hope you guys took something, that can help your programs. We appreciate everything your program brought to the group.
Thanks, well, actually, we've got whole lists of things that we're gonna try out that we got.
Oh, yeah, no. I've been making a lot of lists that we're going to try, so no, this has been a great experience for us. If you want any of our materials, let me know. We have them on the web. They're easily accessed. You just need to know the link. They're not something they're going to come up on the Google, right? But
You guys come up second when you search Riley. You've got great Google.
That's him right there.
Just do Riley and it comes up second. That's pretty good.
Okay.
Well, anyway, anything we can do to improve anyone's Ryla, by all means. I mean, we just love
There's a
that.
lot of companies that would fight.
Dave has done a great job with our website. And on the website, if you go to the left-hand side, there's a conference counselor information, resources. What did you put on there?
Club information.
Club information. And if you go to there, you can go to links all over the place. It'll give you manuals from multiple years.
Oh, that's in the vitals, those are the secret pages.
No, you can find them on the other part too.
Oh, Heather put them there?
Yeah, there's some on there. Do you want to tell them about the secret vitals page?
Well, we can, every year, because we have so many hundreds of people involved, we've got a special web page every year that has everybody's phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to make it available. It's not linked anywhere, so Google can't find it, because we don't want to publicize everyone's personal information. But it's that, it's also if they need to go in and change their shirt size, their phone numbers, or whatever, it's got links for doing that. But we call it the Vitals page, and if you want to look, every year it's rmryla.org, then it's /2014_vitals. Then you can change that year back to 2007 or something.
Vital?
vitals,
Finals.
vital statistics.
Well, vitals, it sounds like you said Bibles.
That's what I thought you said too.
Ooh, let's get that.
Well, that works.
One last thing is, if, what, we can't, I'm a young Ryla guy. I started out, I wasn't involved with senior Ryla until my 6th year into being involved with Ryla. We would love for somebody else to start another middle school Ryla. We think it's exactly the right time with these kids. Most people think it's too early. No, now that we're in our,
Eighth grade going
these
into
are
ninth?
going into 8th.
Going into eighth?
We're going into 8th.
It's
It's 1 year.
They're top of the totem pole in middle school. They get to practice the leadership they learn in camp, and then the next year, their 9th graders headed into high school, following the
This has probably already been mentioned here, but one of the recent spin-offs from Young Ryla has been, now that Rotary International allows Interact clubs in middle schools, we're training them at Young Ryla, so they're there for 1 year, they're already a leader in their school, they can start an Interact club, and then move on to the high school Interact club more naturally. So that's yet another reason to get them at that age for Rotary as a whole.
But these kids at that age, they're so funny, they look like everything from 2nd graders to college freshmen. And they're-
Oh, yeah. the
You'll see
difference.
girls that are 5'8" next to this little guy that's 4'7".
No, I was 5'8" in 5th grade, so yeah.
Oh, that's Eric, do you need this, anything?
If you can leave that there, we got a couple of